ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today reading from chapter 10th, canto 10th, chapter 13th, verse number 53. Kala swabhava samskara काम कर्ण गुणाधिभिः काम कर्म गुणाधिभिः स्वमही ध्वस्त महीभिर् मूर्तिमद्भिरुपासिताः। काल स्वभाव संस्कार काम कर्म गुणाधिभिः स्वमही ध्वस्त मूर्तिमद्भिरुपासितः। काल स्वभाव संस्कार काम कर्म गुणादिभिः स्वमही ध्वस्त मूर्तिमद्भिरुपासिताः। काल स्वभाव संस्कार काम कर्म गुणादिभिः काल स्वभाव संस्कार कर्म गुणादिभिः मूर्तिमद्भिरुपासितः। काल स्वभाव संस्कार मूर्तिमद्भिरुपासिताः। काल by the time factor, स्वभाव own nature, samskara, reformation, kama, desire, karma, fruitive action, guna, the three modes of material nature, adibhihi, and by others, swamahi, dhvasta mahibhihi, whose own independence was subordinate to the potency of the Lord. Murtimadbhihi, possessing form. Upasitaha, were being worshipped. Sorry, I forgot to give chance to Matajis to recite. Anyone wants to recite the verse? Kala svabhava samskara kama karma gunadibhihi swamahi dhvasta mahibhir murtimadbhir upasitaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala, the time factor, Swabhava, one's own nature by association, Samskara, reformation, Kama, desire, Karma, fruit activity, and the Gunas, the three modes of material nature, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had all taken forms and were also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. Purport. No one but Vishnu has any independence. So it's a long purport. I request, probably after reading this purport there is no need to give class also. It's quite big. But we'll go through it. It's very interesting purport. No one but Vishnu has any independence. If we develop consciousness of this fact, then we are in actual Krishna consciousness. We should always remember that Krishna is the only Supreme Master and that everyone else is his servant. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sababhrutya. Be one, even Narayan or Lord Shiva, everyone is subordinate to Krishna. Shiva Virinchi Nutam. Even Baladev is subordinate to Krishna. This is a fact. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sababhrutya. Jare jaiche nachaye se taiche kare nrutya. One should understand that no one is independent, for everything is part and parcel of Krishna and is acting and moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This understanding, this consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudradi Daivataihi Samatvenaiva Viksheta Sa Pashandi Bhaved Drudham. A person who considers demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be on an equal level with Narayan must certainly be considered an offender. No one can compare to Narayan or Krishna. Krishna is Narayan and Narayan is also Krishna, for Krishna is the original Narayan. Brahma himself addressed Krishna as Narayanastvam Nahi Sarva Dehinam. You are also Narayan, indeed. You are the original Narayan. Kala, or the time factor, has many assistants such as Swabhav, Samskar, Kama, Karma and Guna. Swabhava, or one's own nature, is formed according to association of the material qualities. Karanam Guna Sangasya Sad Asad Yoni Janmasu. Bhagavad Gita 13.22. Sat and Asat Swabhav, one's higher and lower nature, is formed by association with different qualities, namely Sattvagun, Rajagun and Tamogun. We should gradually come to Sattvagun so that we may avoid the two lower gunas. This can be done if we regularly discuss Srimad Bhagavatam and hear about Krishna's activities. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. All the activities of Krishna described in Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning even with the pastimes concerning Putana, are transcendental. Therefore, by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Rajogun and Tamogun are subdued, so that only Sattvagun remains. Then Rajoguna and Tamoguna cannot do us any harm. Varnashram dharma therefore is essential, for it can bring people to Sattvagun. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye. Tamogun and Rajogun increase lust and greed, which implicate a living entity in such a way that he must exist in this material world in many, many forms. That is very dangerous. One should therefore be brought to Sattva Gun by the establishment of Varnashram Dharma and should develop the Brahminical qualifications of being very neat and clean, rising early in the morning and seeing Mangalarti and so on. In this way, one should stay in Sattva Gun, and then one cannot be influenced by Tamogun and Rajogun. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lobha dayaschaye cheta etair anavidham sthitam sattve prasidati. The opportunity for this purification is a special feature of human life. In other lives, this is not possible. Such purification cannot be achieved very easily. Such purification can be achieved very easily by Radha Krishna Bhajana, devotional service rendered to Radha and Krishna. And therefore Narottam Das Thakur sings Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gunainu, indicating that unless one worships Radha Krishna, one's human form of life is wasted. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam. By engagement in service of Vasudev, one very quickly renounces material life. The members of Krishna consciousness movement, for example, being engaged in Vasudev Bhakti, very quickly come to the stage of being nice Vaishnavas. So much so that people are surprised that Milechhas and Yavanas are able to come to this stage. This is possible by Vasudev Bhakti. But if we do not come to the stage of Sattva Gun in this human form of life, then as Narottam Das Thakur sings, Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gunainu, there is no profit in gaining this human form of life. Shri Veera Raghava Acharya comments that each of the items mentioned in the first half of this verse is a cause of material entanglement. Kala, the time factor, agitates the modes of material nature, and Swabhava, the result of association with these modes of material. And Swabhava is the result of association with these modes of material nature. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur says, Bhakta Sane Vasa. If one associates with Bhaktas, then one's Swabhava or nature will change. Our Krishna consciousness movement is meant to give people good association so that this change may take place. And we actually see that by this method, people all over the world are gradually becoming devotees. As for samskara or reformation, this is possible again by good association. For by good association, one develops good habits, and habit becomes second nature. Therefore, Bhakta Sane Vasa. Let people have the chance to live with Bhaktas. Then their habits will change. In human form of life, one has this chance. But as Narottam Das Thakur says, Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gunainu. If one fails to take the advantage of this opportunity, one's human life is wasted. We are therefore trying to save human society from degradation and actually elevate people to higher nature. As for karma and karma, desires and activities, if one engages in devotional service, one develops a different nature than if one engages in activities of sense gratification. And of course, the result is also different. According to association of different natures, one receives a particular type of body. Karanam gunasangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. Therefore, we should always seek good association, the association of devotees. Then our life will be successful. A man is known by his company. If one has a chance to live in the good association of devotees, one is able to cultivate knowledge, and naturally one's character or nature will change for one's eternal benefit. It's a very fantastic purport of Srila Prabhupada. Like in my very early days when I came to Krishna consciousness, there was a like everyone used to see various Prabhupada videos. So this one video which I also watched was the final lesson. I'm not sure how many of you have seen that video of Srila Prabhupada. And you see in that final lesson, the mic has been put close to Srila Prabhupada's mouth, and Prabhupada is dictating a purport. Actually, it is this exact same purport. If you have read this, I would suggest that you go and hear this exact same purport. And the same living entity will implicate in many forms. And Prabhupada is giving the exact same purport. So when I read this purport, I thought that I have heard this somewhere, and I immediately opened the video and checked it, and it was the exact same purport. So very thankful to the authorities to give me a chance to speak on this. Of course, it's not possible to cover the entire topic of this. And Prabhupada practically speaks about all these elements which are cause of material bondage. He speaks about Swabhava, Kala, Karma, everything. I would just try to, make a humble attempt to explain on the Swabhava part. Because, that's, I personally felt for my own benefit is very relevant. So I remember that when I was in school, in 8th or 9th standard, we had this Sanskrit topic, and then we had one chapter called Swabhava Duratikrama. You have heard this phrase? It's a subhashit. Swabhava Duratikrama. That means one's nature is very difficult to change. Atikrama means to conquer, to control. Duhu Atikrama means practically impossible to conquer. So one's nature cannot be conquered actually. It's very difficult to change one's nature. And even in one chapter, Srila Prabhupada quotes this shloka. He says, Yaha svabhavohi yasyasti sa nityam duratikramaha. Prabhupada quotes this, that one's nature, it cannot be changed. And then he says, he gives this example, Shiva yadi kriyate raja tat kim na ashnati upahanam. He says, even if you make one particular dog as a king, will he not lick the shoes? Even if you make the dog as a king, ultimately he will wag his tail and lick the shoes. So the nature cannot be changed. However, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphatically saying that nature can be changed. And again he says the same thing, that one's nature has to be changed. It can be changed. Also on other side, when we come in Krishna consciousness, we also hear the important concept that one has to be engaged in devotional service as per one's own nature, because it cannot be changed. So on one side you are preaching a philosophy that please engage in service of Krishna as per your own nature. On the other side you are saying the nature can be changed. On the other side again saying nature cannot be changed, giving examples. So how do we understand? Can we actually change our nature? Is it possible? Is there any way? So I would just like to give some examples from the scriptures. Of different instances of different personalities' behavior. You see, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared in this world, he came as Nimai Pandit. He was born in the family of a Brahmana. And at that time in Mayapur, the greatest exciting event was argumentation. Right? And that's how Brahmanas were known for. They were known for arguments, presenting arguments. So the arguments were presented in such a wonderful way, and it just created such an intellectual, wonderful, entertaining experience to hear different people's argument. And Nimai Pandit was he was the most scholar and the most wonderful debater in the entire Navadvip, right? We know the story of when Keshav Kashmiri came. He just one verse he found out, and he just in that one verse he found out so many defects and so many good points and bad points, and he just defeated him so easily, right? And he would even argue with Murari Gupta, right? And he would argue with Gadadhar Pandit. Sometimes when Nimai Pandit would walk, he would just catch people to argue, as if it was his nature. He would just catch someone, hey, pakad lo isko, argument start karo. And so people would actually change the roads as Nimai Pandit would be walking. Somebody would see him, "Arey, aa gaya." No, again, I don't have sufficient quota. My quota is exhausted now. So I'll better change my road. But this same Nimai Pandit, when he came in front of his spiritual master Ishwar Puri, and Ishwar Puri gave him a book. I think it was Krishna Kathamrut or something. And he said, please edit this book. So Nimai Pandit said that, whatever you write, Krishna accepts it. So there is no scope for me to find any mistakes. He said, yeah, that's okay, but still you edit it. So Nimai, he took. And then he actually edited certain parts. And then he gave the copy back to his spiritual spiritual master, Ishwar Puri. And Ishwar Puri saw that, and there was one particular word, and he did not appreciate that particular, he did not approve of that particular editing. He said, no Nimai, this what you have done is not correct. Right? And Chaitanya Bhagavat says that first time in the life history of Nimai Pandit, he did not argue. And he said, okay, fine, I accept. First time. So Nimai Pandit, he was a fantastic argumentator. And after that, if you see, all the wonderful episodes in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? You come to the pastime of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. For 5 days, he did not argue anything. He was just patiently hearing, hearing, and hearing. And even after that, the way he put forward the arguments, it was in such a humble way, right? And even the most striking, and I was said about this before also, which really touches my heart, is the pastime with Prakashananda Saraswati, right? Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when that devotee Maharashtrian Brahman, he came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that this Prakashananda Saraswati, he's a Mayavadi and he's blaspheming Krishna. Mahaprabhu says that I have put leprosy in his body. And he doesn't know it. Mahaprabhu actually said like that, right? And then we later on see Mahaprabhu only gave him mercy. So, how is it possible? So Krishna also, Krishna lets the material nature do its job, but then if he wants to interfere, he can interfere also, right? So from the point of view of material nature, already probably he was going to get leprosy. But then, as a loving mother or loving father, he took the chance. And when he sat in front of this Mayavadi sannyasi, the question was asked that, you are a sannyasi and, you're not selling Vedantas, just going like a sentimental person, dancing and singing Krishna's holy names. Now the same personality, Nimai Pandit, who once utterly defeated Keshav Kashmiri, what he could have done to Prakashananda Saraswati. Prakashananda Saraswati was not even a devotee. He was just a Mayavadi scholar. If Mahaprabhu wanted, in a minute, in a second, he could have completely devastated him. But what he said? He said, my guru says that I am a fool, so I am simply dancing and chanting. So, we see that although there is a particular, of course, he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as this purport says that Swabhava is not dependent on him. In fact, Swabhava is actually dependent on him. So he can dictate. But in that pastime, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was acting as a devotee, as a normal human being. Like Gaurang Prabhu says that when Krishna comes as a boar, we call him Varahadev. When he comes as a half man, half lion, we call him Narasimhadev. When he comes as a human being, we call him Ramchandra. When he comes as his own self, we call him Krishna. And when he comes as a devotee, we call him Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So he is showing as a devotee an ideal example, right? That although as a Brahmana he had this argumentative nature, he liked to argue, liked to defeat, liked to establish authority. But in certain situations, he just changed himself, right? He accepted a different form. And another very beautiful example, so this we talked about being a Brahmana, and a wonderful example which our Brajvihari Prabhu recently quoted in Sunday Fish class. It was such a fantastic, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Ratha Yatra, he was dancing so nicely. And then there were so many people circled around him to see his wonderful dance. And there were so many devotees also playing their instruments and everything, performing the kirtan along with him. And all this was actually, Prataprudra Maharaj, very powerful Kshatriya, he wanted to see all this. And, because he wanted to see, he was actually trying to put his hand over the shoulders of his Senapati. What was his name? Sorry? Harichandra. So, he wanted to see that, right? And Harichandra could sense that, my master, my king, he wants to see the dance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was trying to push the devotee standing in front of him, Okay, move aside, move aside. But that devotee was not a normal devotee. He was one of the Panchatattva, Srivas Thakur himself. So Srivas Thakur was so absorbed in that kirtan that for some time, okay, fine, somebody is doing it. But after some time, he just turned back and he slapped on his face. Gave a tight slap. Jhapad, what is that word used? Jhapad? Jhapad. So gave a nice chhappad on his cheeks. Tight slap. Now see, a Senapati, you don't make anyone as a Senapati. But typically a Senapati is a person whom you love the most, right? Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he sent his Senapati, Srila Prabhupada, whom he loves the most. So Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, most dear person, was sent as a Senapati. And even more than love is a trust. Lies the sentiment of trust is more deeper than love, right? Just like, one devotee, Krishna loves everybody. One devotee was sharing, I think Muralidhar Prabhu. Krishna loves everybody, but he takes people back to Godhead only those whom he trusts. So loving is for all, right? But when the question is of taking back to Godhead, then only whom you trust. Like you as a devotee may like so many people, I love so many, I love all the devotees. But when the question comes of choosing someone to stay in your own room in yatra, then you choose someone whom you trust the most, right? Like Murli Prabhu was sharing with me. And yatra is just for 12 days. Going back to Godhead is an eternal affair. And he himself has come in Bhagavad Gita and said that such a person will not come back to material world again. So he can't even send him back also. So he has to take somebody whom he trusts the most. So somebody who is trusted and loved the most is given that position, right? So Harichandra must have been that most trusted, and you can imagine the kingdom of Prataparudra Maharaj. He was a Senapati. He was a Senapati with his entire army, right? So we know Ramananda Rai was the governor of Madras, and he is the king. So from Orissa to Madras, practically 1/4 of India is controlled by him, and he is a Senapati of that. So how much trusted and loved person, and he was publicly slapped. If it was an ordinary Kshatriya, he would have just taken out his sword and I don't know what, right? So Harichandra actually became angry, obviously. And King Prataparudra Maharaj also must have got that shock, because this is happening 500 years back. I mean, if this is happening somewhere in the local train, you are pushing a person, and he turns back and gives you a slap. It's accepted, it's happening 500 years back. It's a shock, right? Saintly person. So I don't know, it was a question of complete loss of faith actually, right? But just see, he's a Kshatriya ruling 1/4 of India at that time, but what he said is that, Harichandra, you are so fortunate. You have got this hasta sparsha on your mouth of a pure devotee. He said, I am not that fortunate. So he remained a king, he ruled the kingdom, he was a valiant Kshatriya, but at this point of time, immediately the change was there. He exhibited that change, right? And also want to speak about another wonderful example in scripture is Dhanurdas, in the story of Dhanurdas and Ramanujacharya. So he actually was a Shudra, right? Dhanurdas was a Shudra, right? And that's why the devotees were actually, the disciples of Ramanujacharya were not happy with Ramanujacharya giving him so much of mercy, because he was a Shudra. And then when he actually wanted to test them, he told few of his disciples to go in the night and steal the jewelry of Dhanurdas's wife. So his wife is wearing nice jewelry. So these disciples, they actually entered inside and they started actually stealing the jewelry from her necks, from arms. And she kind of understood that, these are my own godbrothers actually coming and doing this. So she actually turned her other side so that they can take from the other side also. But when she turned, they actually got scared and they ran away, because they thought she's actually getting up, right? And then Ramanujacharya, you stayed back there and you hear what Dhanurdas, when he comes back, what is his reaction? So a Shudra, Srila Prabhupada writes in his purports, is one who laments unnecessarily, right? So therefore we see in Kali Yuga, people lament for anything. You miss a good deal on internet, people lament for it. You miss a cashback offer, you lament for it. Like recently I was looking for one particular object and suddenly it went out of stock. I'm still till yesterday I was feeling, why didn't I buy it at the right time? It went out of stock. You miss a window seat, you lament. You miss a particular sweet given in the prasadam, you lament for that. So in Kali Yuga we lament unnecessarily for so many things, right? And here is this Vaishnava, his wife's gold jewelry has been stolen, and when he sees that it is being stolen, he says, why did you move, stupid lady? You shouldn't have even moved. You should allow them to take all the jewelry from your body. All gold. Imagine an ordinary person, your wife wears a nice jewelry and goes in the street, and some chain wala, he comes and grabs the chain. What do you say? Arey, tere ko aaj ka din mila tha pehnne ke liye. No, I have spent so much of money, hard-earned money to buy this gold, made an investment, and you had to wear it today only, like this. So we have the tendency of lamenting unnecessarily, but when this particular thing happened to Dhanurdas, his reaction is that, let them take all the wealth. Now why did you even not yourself give everything to her, to our godbrothers, right? So he also came back. So what I was trying to look from, and there's one more example of a Vaishya, but I don't want to quote it right now. I will tell after some time. So in all these examples you see, that in their regular duties, they continued as a Brahmana, they continued as a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Shudra, their regular course of life. But when they were posed with a provocating situation, the response was in such a way, right, which was completely Brahminical. Because from that response, we are still learning the lessons. They actually became acharyas. Like, what is the role of a Brahmana? A Brahmana is one who teaches. So in all these pastimes, that in the daily course of activity, they may be or may not be teachers. But when they were put in a situation which was provocative, the response was such which became a teaching for all time to come. Right? So that change of nature actually took place. So this is what I have, maybe I am wrong, but this is what I have understood by changing one's own nature. That you may perform your activities as per acquired modes of material nature, but in the provocative situation, one has to respond in such a way which becomes an example. An example for everyone to follow. So Srila Prabhupada actually in this purport also, he again and again mentions this point that one has to become Brahminical, one has to acquire this Brahmana qualities, one has to come to this mode of goodness, right? And I have seen so many lectures of Srila Prabhupada in which he keeps saying this point that we are here to establish a class of Brahmanas. He keeps saying like that. Now, if you see the history of India, people, the caste which is blamed the most for spoiling our history is Brahminical caste, right? Because they stop people from coming to temples, they stop people or they encourage animal sacrifices, right? In fact, Brahmana caste is the most criticized caste if you go to south also. If you're a Tam Brahm, they say, Tamilian Brahmin, or Tam Brahm is like, it's like a worse person. And Prabhupada comes here and he boldly says that we want to create a class of Brahminical people. Who will accept this movement? They say, somehow because of democracy we have got rid of the stupid Brahmins now. And now again you are coming back and establishing Brahminical class. Now we don't want to take it. So what is a Brahmana? So therefore, this, whenever I have heard Radhanath Swami Maharaj, whenever he gives a lecture, he quotes this beautiful quote of Chanakya Pandit. He says, the beauty of a person is recognized by his knowledge. In similar way, just like the beauty of cuckoo is recognized by her voice. Like cuckoo bird, if you see, it looks actually worse than a crow. At least crow has a nice grey belt over his neck. Cuckoo doesn't even have the grey belt. It's like a huge crow only. But what is the beauty? The beauty is a sweet voice. Just like that, a person's real beauty is his ability is his knowledge. He may not be looking so beautiful that way, right? Just like that, the beauty of a woman is her chastity. And then it comes the beauty of a Brahmana is his ability to forgive. Although a Brahmana is known by the characteristics of, what is that? Pathan, Yajan, Yajan, Dan, Pratigraha. So all these 6 wonderful activities are supposed to be there in the Brahmana. But what is the most glaring quality of a Brahmana is not all this. It's not that he is a teacher, it's not that he is a expert yajna performer, it's not that he is giving Bhagavatam classes, or it's not that he is able to study analytically the scriptures very well. Okay, fine, this is there, very good. But what actually makes him beautiful is his quality to forgive, right? So, I just want to give now I want to give that example of that Vaishya. Now, this person, he is a hardcore Gujarati, he is my friend. He is born in a Gujarati family, so definitely has all the Vaishya qualities. And if you actually want to know how to value money, you should associate with a Vaishya. You'll actually understand how 1 paisa is so important. Because before I came to Krishna consciousness, I had most of, in my childhood, I just stayed in a different locality, but after I moved to, now I stay with a lot of Gujaratis around me. Right? So I know, what I actually started understanding the value of 1 penny. Now even 1 penny is so important for me, right? Because that's how, so I came to know that this devotee, he's engaging in some business deal with another devotee for some purpose, right? And I had this thought in my mind that one should try to avoid business dealing with devotees, because if there are some problems, then there could be Vaishnava aparadha. So I told him, he said, Prabhu, you are entering into this business deal, what if this person cheats you? He cheats you for the money, right? And he told me something very nice, which he heard from his counselor, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, who is another Vaishya probably, by the business that he performs, like a successful businessman, right? He told me a very nice thing, right? He said, if I have to do this particular work, right? This work I have to perform. I have two choices. Either I can do it from a devotee or I can do it for a karmi, from a karmi. Now, if it is my own karma to get cheated, I will be cheated anyways, right? What happens if I get cheated by a karmi? The profit which comes out of that cheating will go to that karmi. But what if I am cheated by a devotee? The profit which comes out of that cheating will go to a devotee. So I should consider myself as the most fortunate person that I could serve that devotee in such a wonderful way. When I heard this, I was shocked. And I am seeing this devotee time and again. He often lands up in situations which are like win-lose situations, lose-win situations for him. That he loses and some devotee gains some material benefit out of it. But he's absolutely quite okay. So just by that association with an advanced devotee, this person has been able to change his nature. Although he is a Vaishya, he has cultivated this particular mode of goodness by associating with devotees. As Prabhupada writes, as one of the most important criteria for cultivating the mode of goodness is associating with devotees. Right? So I remember somebody, asking this question. Radhanath Maharaj was giving class. And, one devotee asked this question. He said, Maharaj, we talk so much about establishing Brahmanical class. Why don't you establish a class of Kshatriya also? Fight. We need to fight. So I don't remember the exact answer which Radhanath Swami Maharaj gave, but he gave something like to the effect saying, he said that's already going on. The fighting, both within and without, is already going on. You don't need to establish a class for that. In Kali Yuga, it's natural to fight. Because it's quarrel and hypocrisy. Right? But what we need is a class of Brahmanas. So so what is this fighting about? And so another thing which I was just thinking about this one thing. If this ISKCON society, if we have to continue this society for next 10,000 years, what type of people we need? People who have this type of consciousness, who look at even the cheating done by a devotee as an opportunity of indirect service, or people who are willing to fight. Honestly, tell me, if for 10,000 years we have to continue the movement, and you cannot say that 10,000 years continuing the movement, like Jesus Christ said that okay, everyone who becomes a Christian, I'll take them back. So then it doesn't matter whether I perform sinful activities or don't perform sinful activities, Jesus Christ will take me back. So we can say, oh, Mahaprabhu has said 10,000 years, so 10,000 years. I can do all nonsense. I need not change my nature. I can do whatever I want to do. Right? Mahaprabhu will take me back. Actually, just coming back to this point, this changing nature, we can say, I cannot change my nature. In scriptures who said like this? I found another shloka where this word Svabhava Durakti Krama is there. Ravana used this word. So what Ravana said was like this. He said, Dvidha bhaji evam evapyam na namayam kasyachit eshame sahajo dosho svabhava duratikrama. He said, Dvija bhaji evam api evam. He said, you can split my body into two parts. I will break, but I will not bend. Na namami eam kasyachit. I will not bow down. Why? Because eshame sahajo dosho. This is my inborn defect. Sahajo. When I took birth, I was born with this defect. Svabhava duratikrama. So to say like this that I cannot change my nature is also, Ravana says this. Devotees don't say this. Devotees will say this, I am not able to change my nature in a humble way. Not that, oh, that's my born defect. I will not bend down. That's not the attitude. So if we want to continue our movement for next 10,000 years, we have to change our nature. So there was one very nice text which I got from Krishna Chandra Prabhu, and I want to read it to all of you, if I have your permission. Very nice. And so I'll just take just give me 1 second. Unfortunately, it was in an email and I couldn't print it. So what he says, very nice. Some of you might have already received it. Hear it nicely. He says, when someone is doing something or is about to do something in a way that we don't want it, to be done, right? And we are not able to accept it, then we become angry. When someone is doing something or is about to do something that we don't want it to be done and we are not able to accept it, we become angry. However, when someone is doing something or is about to do something in a way we don't want it to be done and we are able to accept it, we remain tolerant. When someone has something which we don't have, or someone is able to produce the results which we are not able to produce and we are not able to accept it, we become jealous. When someone has something which we don't have, or someone is able to produce the results which we are not able to produce and we are able to accept it, we get inspired. When someone is present in our thoughts, but if we are and not physically present and we are not able to accept it, we say, I am missing you. When someone is present in our thoughts but not physically present and we are able to accept it, we say, I am thinking of you. So the emotional equation is quite simple. Anything with acceptance is positive emotion and anything with non-acceptance is negative emotion, right? So I will not, there is some more things in that. What is important? So after reading this entire email, I dared to reply back and I said, Prabhuji, correct, but I said, no, I said, thank you for sharing, but I also feel that, before accepting everything, I have to fight. I need to fight. And if that fight does not work, then I'll accept. And Krishnendra Prabhu replied very nicely. He said, yes, correct. The fight may be an effort to convince oneself. So we need a class of fighters also, but who are willing to fight to convince oneself that I need to accept. Because in Kali Yuga, what happens is, it's like a chain reaction, unfortunately. At certain time, the fighting is required, right? But even, like, Govind Prabhu was explaining us the wonderful story of Rani Lakshmibai, Jhansi ki Rani. At one point of time, she was facing the Britishers and then she lost everything. Everything was lost. And then she was just, because Kshatriya means what? Either you will fight or you will die. And she was saying that, no, I will just go ahead and fight these people or I will commit suicide, because she lost everything. But that time she approached a priest and the priest said, my dear queen, there was some quota of your enjoyment as a queen which you have already enjoyed. Now just accept what is coming by the fate. Just accept it, but don't commit suicide. So if you commit suicide, you are creating another karma for you. Better you just run away from this place and prepare yourself and then attack again. And then she got actually inspired. She touched the feet of that priest and she went away. So even a Kshatriya at times he has to choose not to fight. And he has to take the guidance of someone who is in the mode of goodness. Because what happens, why Prabhupada is stressing so much about mode of goodness, so much about cultivating Brahmanical qualities? Because Krishna says that mode of Brahmanical quality means Prakashakam Anamayam. That means the knowledge is revealed in the heart. That means in the most precarious situation, when you can't do anything, when you can't think of anything, you go completely blank. This modern psychology, they have this concept of downshifting. Have you heard this before? Like what they say is that, human being, there are three brains. So we have the front brain and the mammalian brain and the reptilian brain, like that. So that's how, of course this is a modern science, I don't think this is, but it's very interesting. So what they say is that the reptilian brain, what a reptile does, a reptile will either fight or flight. Fight or flight. A snake will either attack you or run away. Right? So fight or flight, that's reptilian brain. A mammalian brain is at least protect your own people. Right? And a front brain is to make discrimination and take a proper action. So they say what happens is a person, when you suddenly shout at a person, a small child basically, a small child, if you're dealing with him, If you suddenly shout at him and the child becomes extremely scared, then he closes his front brain. Cannot discriminate. He comes to the lower level. They say, मैंने नहीं किया, ये ऐसा उसने किया, इसने किया, लेकिन मैंने नहीं किया. That's the mammalian stage. And if that also closes, then he comes to reptilian stage. That means he'll just run away. This process of closing is called as downshifting, because your one brain is getting closed up. Cut. So when you are put in a situation which is extremely scary, there is complete downshifting. But if you are in the mode of goodness, even if there is a downshifting, because prakashakam anamayam, because the knowledge is not coming from brain, it's coming from Paramatma inside, you will have the right words and you will do the right action in the most provocating situation. So if we want to continue our Krishna consciousness for years and years and years together, we have to develop this quality. Now there is no question of not being able to develop it. It's our responsibility. Otherwise, how will you deal with people? How will you stay? Because this Kali Yuga, I can't, like Prabhuji was saying in the Bhagavatam class, you can't say, mera Kshatriya nature bahar aa gaya, mera Brahman nature bahar aa gaya. You can't say like that. I was just hearing this class, Srila Prabhupada lecture, the deity worship was going on, and Prabhupada says, such wonderful point. Prabhupada says, see, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna does not ask this question. Arjuna does not say, ke ami, kene amai jarata patra. He directly says that, I will not fight, I will not do this, I will not do that. Krishna has to tell him, you think that you are an intelligent person, but you are a fool. But he says, Chaitanya Charitamrita is the one level higher scripture. So here, there is first, who am I? I am not a Kshatriya. I am not a Brahmana. Who am I? This is what the Acharyas are teaching us. Now we don't say that, and then Sanatana Goswami says that all great people think that I am a great Brahmana, and I also have this Jati Buddhi with me. So Prabhupada says that any person who thinks himself to be a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, he has a Jati Buddhi. Because this is not what our Acharyas are telling. Our Acharyas are saying, Ke ami? I don't know who am I. Right? So we cannot afford to have such type of nature. So therefore cultivating the mode of goodness is most important. And then Srila Prabhupada goes on in the purport to explain how to develop this mode of goodness. And it's not, Prabhupada makes a statement here that it's not very difficult. It can be easily achieved, Prabhupada says. Right? And how we can easily achieve mode of goodness? Prabhupada says by studying Srimad Bhagavatam every day. By associating with the devotees. Chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Another important thing, getting up early in the morning and attending Mangalarti. I was really surprised when I saw that video of Srila Prabhupada, in his last stages, there's a microphone on his mouth and he says one should get up early in the morning. And I said, my God, he said, even if 1 ounce of love for Srila Prabhupada, I will get up early in the morning. But that's what he's doing at the time of death. Somebody is leaving the body. Gaura Gopal Prabhu was explaining that death is so self-absorbing, right? Gaura Gopal Prabhu, he gave the wonderful Bhagavatam class. He was saying that death is so self-absorbing. And what Prabhupada is worried about is how to develop mode of goodness in other people. And at the last moment of life, he's saying one should get up early in the morning, attend Mangalarti. How can you not do? I mean, of course, I don't attend Mangalarti every day, of course. I mean, I sometimes fail to get up early in the morning, and that's why I'm not fit to sit here and speak. But at least you should aspire for it. You cannot say this is my sahajo dosho, swabhava duratikramaha. I am born to get up late, right from my childhood. That's Ravana's mentality. So Prabhupada is just simple things. Develop this mode of goodness. And another fantastic thing which I liked in Srila Prabhupada is the consistency of the message. So, you see, this is the winding up of the pastime of Srila Prabhupada. So, Prabhupada is actually winding up his pastimes. These are his last stages. And in the last stages, what he is saying, one should develop the mode of goodness, get up early in the morning, discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. And he is quoting the same shloka, right? Tada rajas tamo bhava kamo lobha dayasche. These are the purports written by Srila Prabhupada during the last stages of his life. This is how he wound up his pastime. And how did he begin his pastime? When he was going on the Jaladuta boat, what he said? Same thing. Tada rajas tamo bhava kamo lobha dayasche. I am going to this place of America. People are engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. If they take up your message, Krishna, if they take up the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, they will get rid of this lower modes of material nature. Such consistency of message. It's not that he's changing, he's speaking some high philosophy when he's leaving his body, and in the beginning he's speaking some basic philosophy. It's the exact same message he's giving. Even then, we are still not able to fully drill it inside unto us. Same message Prabhupada gives. And that's his consistency. And then what Prabhupada gives the process? Prabhupada says a simple process. One should get up early in the morning, attend Mangalarti, study Srimad Bhagavatam, and the last and the most difficult thing is associate with devotees. Why is it such a difficult thing? I remember when I was a child, there was a Marathi author. You know, he writes. He's not a devotee, of course, and he sometimes writes so many other things also. So one may not read, but he sometimes speaks something very profound. So I used to hear his lectures. So in one lecture he says, you know, people come and they say, I created a Guinness Book of World Record. What is the Guinness Book of World Record? I stayed in the association of serpents for 72 hours. He said, I challenge them, stay in association of human beings for 72 hours. If they are able to do it. You know? So it's a challenge to stay with human beings as Kali Yuga progresses is a challenge. And unfortunately, thanks to the Hitopadesh Shloka, Ahar Nidra Bhaya Maithunam Cha Samanya method, the facility of becoming a devotee is only available to human beings. So we don't have the chance of associating with devotees in other species of life, at least staying in Bombay city. No, we can't have an elephant in our house or a bull in the house, or even dog also we can't have, because, you know. So no, we have to associate with devotees as human beings only. So we need to learn these qualities. How? So somebody who has this quality, you know, the way I explained, given by Krishnachandra Prabhu, or this principle of acceptance, willing to let go. You know, Sattva Gun means what? You know, even if there is defeat, okay, fine, it's okay, it's all right. What's wrong? What's so wrong? As long as I'm able to associate with devotees, as long as I'm able to, you know, study Bhagavatam, that's okay. What wrong it is, right? So therefore, this is my understanding that why, you know, it is said that impersonalism is the last snare of Maya. Because for devotees, what is the meaning of impersonalism? I will not associate with devotees. Rather, I will associate with iPads, I will associate with touch phones, I will associate with laptops, I will associate with everything else, but I will not associate with devotees. Why? Because I cannot stay with them for 72 hours. It's very difficult. And I'm sure for brahmacharis it becomes more challenging. Like again Rajbihari Prabhu, he was telling me, he said, for grahasthas, you know, you stay in office for 8 hours, 9 hours, and you don't get along with people, right? And you are like, oh my God, I can't get along with this person. But there is at least some hope that when I go home, you know, I have people with me at my home, if you are fortunate in Kali Yuga, whom you can get along with. At least, you know, at least at some point of time. But for brahmachari, it is the same people in office and same people at home. You know, I'm doing the seva with the same people, and I'm sleeping around in and around same people. So it's even more challenging, right? So therefore, in Kali Yuga, impersonalism is the last snare, because that's like a final knockout ball, you know. Like Maya Devi will do her full efforts to not let you get up early in the morning, but you may even conquer that. She may stop you from coming to Bhagavatam class, you may even conquer that. But if she decides to stop you from associating with devotees, there is a very high chance that we will get knocked out by that particular act of Maya Devi. And that's what is impersonalism all about. So that's the last snare of Maya. It's like the final googly ball, clean bowled. No one can stand, right? So therefore, and therefore Prabhupada so much stressingly here, associate with devotees, associate with devotees, associate with devotees. Because lava matra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Sarva siddhi hoy means the perfection that you can achieve by all the process. Studying Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, getting a Mangalari, all the siddhi of all this will get by simply associating with devotees. If you have the right consciousness, you know. And for that, it's mandatory that we should change our nature. It's kind of a mandatory stuff. So yes, we are not able to change our nature, we accept it as our guilt, as our fault, and then we pray to Krishna that Krishna, please let this holy name purify my heart. Let this message of Srimad Bhagavatam someday touch my soul. Let me at least go one step towards changing my nature. And Prabhupada says, yes, it can be done. It can be done. As I have seen so many devotees actually doing it, changing the natures when they are actually they are exposed to provocative situations. Very, very, very important. So that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone has any questions? Sorry for I went a lot ahead. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.